Mysterivm Xarxes, the cold embrace of a sepulchral obscurity. I thought I was going to mess up that word. I was practicing it for ages before we came on.
Wait, what was the word? Support. What?
Sepulchral.
Sepulchral. It's a hard word to say, isn't it?
Am I saying that right? A
Sepulchral.
raw, a raw atmospheric descent into spiritual decay and timeless death. Each track is a passage through obscurity, not to be understood but endured. However, we are going to try and understand them because that is what we do today. So, yeah, Mike, how do you feel about this record? Let's just go straight on in.
I like the fact that he's like, it's not to be understood. Well, we're gonna have a go at trying to
We,
understand it. So
yeah, that's what we do.
the thing you don't want people to do, we're gonna try and do that and do exactly what you didn't want us to do.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry in
so
advance.
so this album is by the same guy that we reviewed recently, didn't we? Who is in the band
Al Daydroff.
Al Daydroff, right? And this is his other project, which I
Other.
think again is
Yeah.
named after either the same game or it's a
Oh, is it?
different. It's something to do with another
Oh,
video
is it?
game, maybe the same one again.
Might be the same one, yeah, Morrowind.
Morrowind. Yeah, I don't think it is Morrowind actually.
Oh, is it not?
What's it?
Well,
Is Elder Scrolls something to do with video games?
yeah, so, like, Elder Scrolls is the umbrella and Morrowind is a game in the Elder Scrolls series.
Right. So I think it's to do. It's all in the same
Elder
sort of thing.
Scrolls.
Elder
Oh,
Scrolls.
okay. Okay.
Um. Yeah. So what this album? What did I think of this album? Is that what you want to know?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
we're here.
actually, that's a good point. That is a good point. We did review Al Daydroff only not too long ago, actually, a few weeks ago. But this is his other project. So, I mean, he's a busy guy. And
He is a
and they're both one man.
yeah.
It's just
He's a
one
busy
dude.
guy. I get quite amazed, like at the work ethic of some of these like solo black metal
Yeah.
artists. Like it's insane, really. Especially the ones that perform live on like they do live drums and stuff as well. It's not a case that they're just sequencing them. They're performing and I'm assuming take do multiple takes and stuff. To get these
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because I was going to touch on that because it's not as if he's just programming drums and then you can just let that loop while you're, riffing over it.
Yeah.
I think the writing becomes a lot more easy in that sense. But I guess, yeah, it's all instruments by him. He doesn't mess around.
Well, he has to go. I suppose in a way like a band would. He has to have kind of recording sessions, doesn't he? Like
Yeah,
he's got
yeah,
to
we'll
go and
have to.
track the drums. It's not a case of sequencing drums, saving your project and things, and then putting the guitars and stuff over the top. He's going in and doing this. So when you got like multiple projects doing that and doing regular releases, it's quite amazing the work ethic, man.
Yeah,
Um,
it really is. It really is.
but this album, when you compare it to his other project, is quite different, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It
And I
is
like that. I like that he hasn't done sort of two albums where you'd be like, well,
the same
that could
thing.
be it could be the same. Yeah, it could go under the same banner, and you wouldn't really know. They are very different, even down to production and things like that as well.
Yeah, the production's not too dissimilar, but I feel like there is a bit more of a raw, icy
Yeah,
edge to this one,
yeah,
which I think it kind of needs it because I guess this is like it said a atmospheric descent into spiritual decay. I think that's quite like a good little summary as to the sound.
Well, another line he's put in it, which I think sort of sums up well as well, is it was recorded in isolation and deliberately, John, veiled in analog rot.
That's great. That's great terminology because I think it needs it, and that kind of comes through in like the songwriting and like the structure, like this kind of the isolation does sort of come through in that.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
I mean, it's very raw sounding. I listened to this a few times, and one of the times I had it on was in my car, and I didn't enjoy it as much in that medium. For me, it felt like you needed the headphones in to actually
yeah,
pick out
I agree.
what was going on. I was struggling to kind of when I listened to it in my car, I thought that the production needed a bit more clarity to be able to pick out what was going on. But when I had it on headphones, it worked a lot more, and I could hear the riffs better, and I could hear the drums better as well. I felt like the yeah, outside of that, it did almost. It sounded quite cymbal heavy when I listened to it outside of headphones, and that was what was almost overpowering in it.
Yeah, so I did similar, not in a car though, but I did like speakers versus headphones, and it was a lot more. I mean, I guess that is usually the case when you have headphones in. It's a lot more like visceral in that sense.
Mm,
But I thought the production of it was actually really great. I thought there was a lot of clarity. I love the drum sound that he's got going on. I think the kick
yeah.
and the snare sound in particular, it's tuned quite high. It sounds like it's really cool, and it just allows those blasts to like really come through, which is cool.
They did cut through, yeah, like, especially on headphones, I noticed that you could pick out those individual elements, couldn't you? You could hear the kind of the impact of the kick drum and the snare on there, and yeah, that highness of it is almost a bit grindcore in that sort of tuning
Yeah,
it up, you know?
yeah, it was. It was. That's a good take. I thought you were going to say Saint Anger or something.
Yeah, yeah, all that.
It was a bit Lars.
Yeah, it was a little bit Lars. Um,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
yeah,
Let's.
this
Well,
album. What
go on.
did you think of this album, John? I mean, it definitely it, it scratches that itch for that real icy kind of second wave black metal.
I think it's a bit more modern than that, but I think what this is, it's more atmosphere. I think you more put this on and just allow it to all play out because he
Yeah,
allows passages to just play out for a long while.
yeah,
It is that kind of spiritual trance, like just meditative, just let that kind of keep
yeah.
going. And I think in terms of like he set out what he set out to do with that atmosphere, he's kind of nailed. But what I do like about it is that it's not just pure, almost like depressive isolation. There are some tracks where they're almost a little bit uplifting. Track three, it had like it kind of reminded me of like really early that early black metal, Viking metal. There was a lot of the lead lines in that were really melodic, and there was like a lot of triumphantness in the kind of in the lead for that song. I thought.
Was that the one where he actually stops and the guitar just is doing the lead pretty much on its own, and it is quite uplifting? I think that is track three. I'm thinking of.
Well, track two also had a kind of a melody, but it was a bit more melancholic. It wasn't as powerful, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That was my
but
highlight, you
yeah,
know, track two.
was it
Yeah.
for any reason for me that melody was like amazing.
It was just my highlight song. I don't know. It was just the one I liked the most. No real reason because I felt like the album was fairly consistent going through
Yeah.
in what it was doing. It was just my if I'm going back and just picking a song to listen to, it would be that one.
Yes, I think I feel like this feels more like even though it is an album that you sort of put on start to finish and like just allow it to kind of just go with it. I did feel like it was more a collection of songs rather than a journey, though, if that makes sense. I felt like the Al Daydroff album that we reviewed felt a bit more start to finish, that there was a kind of path, where
Yeah,
I feel like there kind of is a journey, but it's a bit more individual rather than as a whole.
yeah.
Oh, Mike, professional taking calls as we
Sorry,
go.
sorry. Do you know what? I normally turn that off. I didn't
But
today.
yeah,
Typically,
didn't today, typically. But yeah, and then I think the track after was amazing. Labyrinthine Flesh, Sanctum of the Forgotten, like really evil and dark riff that kind of counteracted that a bit more triumphant sounding from the track before. Um, Again, like he was able to just like let parts just play out to get lost in that kind of trance-like state. And the blasts at the end of that song were like unbelievable, man. So like when
yeah.
he gets going with a blast,
It's
it's
fast, isn't it, man? It is
it's
intense.
fast, yeah, very intense, very intense. And then I think the track after was maybe my standout. It kind of just comes straight in, like 1,000 miles an hour, just like before you even know it, it's just pure ferocity. And there's like a real chaotic evilness to that song, which obviously I love in a bit of black metal.
The album. It kind of had that throughout, didn't it? There was always that kind of evilness coming back through, even when he did change the mood slightly. The overall
Yeah,
feel of it was that kind of icy evil thing that you want to hear in a black metal album.
yeah, it's true. Although I still think in track 3 that in isolation it is quite it was quite uplifting in a weird
Mm.
way. I wonder if that was intentional, like if that was the journey point of the story where I don't know, maybe he was feeling a little less isolated that day and a bit more
Bit more upbeat. Maybe it was his
a bit
birthday.
more upbeat.
Maybe he
maybe he
just
had a nice bit
won
of
an auction
cake.
on eBay that he was particularly into.
But yeah, and then ends on shattered and sacrificed at the edge of being. It's kind of started off a bit slower in tone, which you didn't really have too much of in the album. The odd section was a little bit slower here and there, but the intro to that song was a bit slower. Kind of really did encapsulate that kind of isolation and despair. It was very dark and depressive. But then the drums sort of like really picked up with it, but the guitar work sort of stayed
Yeah,
that slow pace, and it really like just added a nice
I love.
contrast.
Yeah,
But
I love it when people do that. I would say bands,
yeah,
obviously, it's like his thing, but when it's like keep the guitar slow, but the drums are at that different pace to it, and yeah, I like that. It's good.
yeah. So I mean, like 11 minutes in, if you're new here, what we do is we do review the
Do you think
latest
we have
metal
to say this
releases.
every app?
Well, not everyone's going to watch every ep, are they?
I know, right? Go say it then, John.
So yeah, what we do is we review the latest metal releases, but we don't talk about it off air. We kind of come in with a bit more like a natural discussion. But Mike, did you like this record?
I did, man. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was hard not to compare it to his other project, which I maybe preferred overall, but
I
they are
was
different.
I was debating to say, do we compare? Because it's not that kind of we're not that kind of show, I guess. But like, it's hard not to, isn't it? When they're so close to each other and it's the
Well, that's what
same
I mean. They
dude.
came out so soon from one another, but I do think there's differences in there that you can maybe we shouldn't compare.
Yeah, it's true, and I know what you're saying. I think it for like if you want a lot more, just more raw, ferocious black metal, this is definitely the
This is
one
the
to
one.
go
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if you want a bit more of that kind of like journey atmosphere, then Al Daydroff is definitely worth checking out. But both bands, both
Yeah.
versions of him they're definitely worth checking out, I'd say.
Oh man, definitely.
And I don't think he's actually been going for too long. I
2021,
think
right? I think
is it man? He's
2021.
busy. He's busy. Yeah, he's put
He
out a lot of stuff.
Well, he's done. Well, he's done two. What's he done? Two albums before this. In this one, and he's done a bunch of EPs and splits as well.
EPs and splits. Yeah, yeah. Damn. I mean, he's obviously putting out records at a great rate, so it's. I'm just kind of excited to hear more whenever he kind of puts stuff out. I
Yeah,
guess
and
it's
it's
kind of
you probably haven't got to
like
wait long as well.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do you remember when like Trial was like dropping albums every day, and it was
Oh, it's
just
great.
yeah. Yeah. I guess it's kind of like that. But yeah, check this one out. Do let us know what you think of it in the comments. And if give us a like and a subscribe if you liked what you heard today, because we put out videos every Wednesday and Friday. But yeah, we will catch you in the next one.